we are going to discuss carcinoma urinary bladder under 5 headings. Number 1, diagnosis. Number 2, superficial or early carcinoma urinary bladder. Number 3, muscle invasive carcinoma urinary bladder. And number 4, radiotherapy and chemotherapy in carcinoma urinary bladder. And lastly, surgery in carcinoma urinary bladder. Carcinoma urinary bladder for general surgery exam, usually a theory question. In practical, you will never be given a long case or a short case of carcinoma urinary bladder. But the discussion can come out of a specimen, out of an X-ray showing IVP with a filling defect or a cystogram, or you can be asked in a discussion when a patient has hematuria, but the patient will not have carcinoma urinary bladder, but still the discussion can revolve around carcinoma urinary bladder. So let us first, I will keep asking you questions. As much as you can answer, and whatever you cannot, I will supplement, right? Because we have to cover a lot of discussion in a given 1.5 hour perspective. So let us come to the diagnosis. So what would you do for the diagnosis? Patient has hematuria, so how will you diagnose or think of carcinoma urinary bladder? Speak loud, put that mic on.
Bluetooth se will have to connect this.
Chalo, you speak loudly, doesn't matter. We can't disconnect now.
Diagnosis of
Bit
urinary
loud.
bladder is made by cystoscopy. Definitive diagnosis.
No, before definitive diagnosis, what are the non-invasive methods? That when you suspect see a urinary bladder, when the examiner asks you that in a given case of hematuria, when are you going to suspect and how are you going to proceed? So when examiner asks this, always start with non-invasive investigations, right? So as far as you are concerned, if the patient is high risk patient, the first investigation you are going to do is an ultrasound, which is a specific test. What will you see on ultrasound? You will see you can see, now write down, what findings you expect. I would like you to write down. Number 1, you can see a polypoidal, typically a polypoidal mass arising around trigone or the lateral wall of the bladder. Number 1. Number 2, in a diffuse carcinoma, infiltrative type, you may find thickening of the urinary bladder. If you are a good sinologist, you may find a bladder wall of a given area, say a right lateral wall or a left lateral wall, which is 11 mm, whereas the normal bladder wall is 3 mm. You must know the normal bladder wall is 3 mm. Anything more than 5 mm is abnormal. Okay? Now, another thing you will see is, if it is in the trigonal area, is the corresponding site hydroureter or hydronephrosis. Right now, these are the points. If you tell the examiner like this, he will be impressed that the candidate has a systemic approach. Then you can also say, sir, I will also look at the upper tract. There may be a filling defect in the upper tract, and the TCC is known to metastasize from the renal, transitional or glacial system to the ureter. And normally the metastasis occurs. Now the common question, remember your examiner is not going to be a urologist. He would be an old-timer general surgeon who will ask you such questions. And the only thing, the typical question they ask, what is the pattern of an implantation tumor? How will you say this tumor is de novo in the bladder or it is an implantation? Usually the ureteric jet hits the opposite wall. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
The right ureteric jet will hit the left lateral wall. So the metastasis would be on the left wall, right? Then on ultrasound, you can even see pelvic nodes. No, these are gross things. When we will repeat it on CT, you will see the same things with more specificity. When you repeat it on MRI, you will see the same things. And we have discussed this last time, and in PET you will have more specificity. And whenever anybody asks you what are the negativities and positivities, always use the system that which I told you last time, a range of 60 to 80. That all what is enlarged may not have metastasis, and all what is not seen may have metastasis. Right? So nobody is asking you to be giving you exact percentile of data as a general surgeon resident. You will not be asked data. How welcome Dr. Lalit Shah. So then the next question comes, the definitive diagnosis. Definitive diagnosis is a cell diagnosis. Cell diagnosis comes from urinary cytology. Now, cytology can give you the diagnosis of malignancy, but it does not help you to decide the line of management. Right? So, after cytology, the next test is cystoscopy. Now, you need to know as a general surgeon that there are two types of cystoscopy. Three types actually you should know. One, that a rigid cystoscopy. Second, flexible cystoscopy. Third, blue dye cystoscopy. So I will touch all the topics as much as you need to know as a general surgical resident. Now, as far as bladder is concerned, I am drawing a diagram. इसको बेटे थोड़ा परे कर लो. And now, when you do cystoscopy, you have usually the cystoscopy is done with a 30-degree lens. So you look back like this. So you start screening wall by wall, trigon, ureteric orifices, right wall, left wall, dome. Push a hand from the belly on distended bladder to push the dome down. How do you identify the dome? You see a air bubble, fundal air bubble, which is there. Some air goes in with the cystoscope, and at the top of it you see a air bubble. Now there are some hidden areas. Now see carefully. This bladder neck area anterior is a blind area. When you do 30-degree cystoscopy, this is usually missed. To visualize this area, you need a 70-degree lens. 70 degree is 70 degrees, something like this. You can look back. Okay? So, in a case of hematuria, if you can tell the examiner that, sir, the rigid cystoscopy will be done by 30 degree, and if it is non-conclusive, I will use 70 degree to look back on the bladder neck area. You get 100% marks. Now, when it comes to flexible ureteroscopy, what are the advantages of flexible cystoscopy? Number one, it can be done without anesthesia, under topical anesthesia, under local and sedation. Number two, the lumen is small, so it is less traumatic. Number three, it is done as outpatient. Well, even rigid cystoscopy is done outpatient. The postoperative symptoms, the urethral symptoms of the patient are less with flexible ureteroscopy. One great advantage is, now you see carefully. Now I am showing you how Now, a flexible ureteroscope is a. Now I am rotating the camera again on the. Now you can bend this tip like this, okay. So only one scope will show you everything. You can retroflex, so you don't need to change the lens and scope. Next time if somebody reminds, I will bring the flexible cystoscope in the class and all of you can have a look at. Okay? Now, which of you will tell me something about blue dye? Have you read? You read? Yes. Speak loudly.
In white light cystoscopy, some CIS, Carcinoma Institute, and other nations may miss. In
Yes.
that time, if we are highly suspicious, even
Yes.
though the white light cystoscopy is negative, if we are highly suspicious, then blue dye, amino levulinic acid has to be given. Then the normal areas will be seen as blue, and the suspicious area or that pre-malignant or malignant area will be emitting the red light.
Red light. Very good. How it is done? The contrast, whatever blue dye you want to inject, 5-levulinic acid or hexa-levulinic acid, they are injected into bladder and kept there for a while. Then cystoscopy is done. Right? So if you know this much, this is more than sufficient. Now this can be asked to you. There is a table in your practical exam called recent advances. Though this dye system is, blue light is around 15-20 years old, but as far as general surgery is concerned, it is still recent advance. So you can ask you on the recent advances table. Somebody might ask you like this: what is the recent advance in urology? If somebody asks you this, doctor, what are the recent advances in urology? You should answer one. What are the recent advances? Number one, everything, write down this question. As far as general surgeons are concerned, recent advances in urology are: number one, all open surgery is over, everything open is converted into laparoscopic or robotic. This is one. Number two, lasers. Then the next question can be, what are the lasers used in urology? This, Dr. Tada, your homework.
Yes.
Lasers used in urology. Name of the laser, indications. Some 4 lines about each laser. The next is this blue dye. So, can I repeat? Laparoscopy and robotic, laser and blue dye. As far as you are concerned, is sufficient. And you can add one thing, RIRS. You also get a long question on RIRS. You know what is RIRS? Anybody? No? You don't know? Okay. Retrograde intrarenal surgery. Retrograde intrarenal surgery. The flexible scope is passed from the urethra, UV junction, ureter into the kidney and callaceal system, and primarily this is used for stone disease. You can deal near 90% of the stones even without PCNL. This system has not picked up in our country because it is not cost effective. In each one scope, the tip of the scope costs 13 lakhs. The tip of the scope costs half of it. The tip lasts for 10 to 20 cases. So that means 40,000, 50,000 rupees is per case consumable cost of the tip. Right? So that has not been transferred. Plus people are good in PCNL. The advantage of this is somebody can afford and the surgeon is good. PCNL in best hands have some complication. RIRS, because you don't puncture the kidney, there are no complications. All it may be, some fragment is left, you can always do it next time. Right? Okay? We got diverted, but that is a relevant point of discussion. Now let us come to, so with this we have the diagnosis. And now next step, you have Diagnosed. Now, mere diagnosis does not plan. Now the next point comes TURP, TURBT. So, or the management of, write down, management of superficial bladder tumors. Now, first point is whenever bladder tumor comes in theory exam, all of you should know the layer-wise anatomy of urinary bladder. Superficial muscle, deep muscle, lamina propria, basement membrane, epithelium. Are you all clear about this? Whatever be the question on carcinoma bladder, always draw a quick diagram and write the staging. Other than TNM staging, you know, all of you know TNM staging? No need to waste time on this. Do you know the staging also? That is called Jewett-Marshall staging. Anyway, you write up the staging as homework. You may not know the name, write the staging, because some general surgeons may not know the classification of TNM offhand. They might ask you the staging. Now, what is a superficial? Welcome, Professor Serene. We would love to have one of these days your lecture to the residents. So, what is a superficial bladder tumor? Anybody? Speak loud. What is a superficial bladder tumor?
TA under T1.
Yes.
Yes, sir. T is carcinoma in situ then. And
How do you decide that?
sir, TA is only superficial papillary neoplasm, and T1 when it involves a lamina propria.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And carcinoma in situ, the areas will be velvety. It looks velvety or inflamed.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And carcinoma in situ again concomitant, secondary, other types of carcinoma in situ. These are all superficial.
One important point you can tell the examiner is that the size, usually the transitional carcinoma, the tumor size may look bigger, but the pedicle is usually smaller. So eventually what it matters is the pedicle, not what is hanging into the lumen. Also on sonology or on ultrasound, if somebody shows you a filling defect in the urinary bladder, there can be a X-ray discussion where they can ask you what are the causes of radiolucent filling defect in the urinary bladder. Let us quickly finish this. Yes, what are the causes?
Sir, the most common cause being the Foley's catheter, the bulb of the Foley's catheter in situ. The other causes are sir, bladder tumor, then urinary bladder stone, then cystosomiasis can be the cause.
Something important is a clot in the bladder.
Clot in the bladder. Yes.
And remember, a patient with TCC, even when cytology is positive and you see a clot in the urinary bladder, you see a filling defect. If you can tell the examiner, sir, the clots, the filling defect need not necessarily mean the tumor is that big. It may be a small tumor and a big clot. Right? So that gives you additional credit that this candidate can think. And sometimes the air in the urinary bladder, either de novo or it is introduced. Oh, welcome, Professor Singh. Today all my old batchmates are on the screen. Thank you for encouraging. We have Professor Sunil Singh, who was head of the department CMC General Surgery, today with us. Welcome him. And Professor Yogesh Serene, he is Director, Professor of Pediatric Surgery, MAMC. Very, very bright surgeon and very good friend. So we have a lot of friends today watching the class. I think I'm carrying on the same spirit of Ludhiana in a smaller way, not I cannot match the teachers, but we are carrying on the flag. And you guys are doing better than me. Welcome. Okay.
So median lobe of the prostate can also present with the filling defect. And
Yes.
also ureterocele
Yes.
can present with the
Very good. Okay. So some basic thing about steps of TURBT for carcinoma urinary bladder. The first point which the examiner wants you to mention is examination by manual under anesthesia. Right? So, next step, scope the patient, screen the whole bladder, and the next step, resect layer by layer. Don't take the big chunk. First debulk from top, and as you are removing, keep a strainer so that all the fragments are coming to be collected. And finally, you take from the base and a deeper cut from the muzzle. Now the cut you take from the muzzle has to be preserved separately and sent separately as a deeper specimen. Until you will not send it labeled separately, the pathologist will not be able to find out from 20 chips which one is a deeper chip. And maybe after examining 5 chips which are positive, he might say, thank you very much, TCC grade 2. Right? Then for tumors which are nearer the bladder neck or multiple, the biopsy from the prostatic urethra need to be taken. In a low flat tumor, you need to take random biopsies from the rest of the bladder because that is known to be multifocal. One question which somebody might ask you, that what is the problem of lateral resection? The lateral resection are that when you are taking cut from the lateral wall, what can happen?
obturator reflex can.
Yes, the the obturator nerve can get stimulated by the electric current, and the patient may kick that leg. And if you are not aware of that, when you are doing this lateral, you either do it under GA, where the muscle is relaxed, or if you are doing it under spinal, ask somebody to hold the limb, so that sometimes that can lead to perforation. Now, what are the complications of TURBT? Intraoperatively? Yes, anybody? You?
Intraoperatively.
Be loud.
Intraoperatively, bleeding can occur.
Yes, primary hemorrhage. Say primary hemorrhage. Yes.
Immediate postoperatively, reactionary hemorrhage.
No, immediate. First
And
finish the operative. Yes, what else?
Intraoperatively, perforation can occur in the bladder.
Perforation of the bladder. Some perforation will always occur because when you are taking deeper cut to take the deep muscle, you see some amount of fat always, perivesical. That doesn't matter. If you make a big hole, then you can call it a perforation. Number 2, you may have intraperitoneal perforation of the bladder when you are resecting from the dome. Resection from the dome is more difficult, but luckily the tumors on the dome are less common. Right?
May adenocarcinoma.
If it is a adenocarcinoma from the dome, where from it originates?
So, from the glandular epithelium or the remnant of the urachus.
Good. Now, what is the protocol following? Suppose you have confirmed it Now there are two things. Every patient will undergo TUR resection to really know the staging, because the whole system depends upon whether the given patient has superficial tumor or muscle invasive tumor. These are two or three things, or metastatic disease. So in a given patient, when you have superficial, you have decided it is superficial tumor and the deeper muscle is free. So what is the next procedure? What do you do next? Yes,
So,
be a bit loud.
intravesical BCG. And
What are the
chemotherapy.
intravesical agents which are used? One is BCG.
And intravesical chemotherapy can be given. That is.
What is name the? Yes, name.
Mitomycin.
Mitomycin C.
doxorubicin, epirubicin.
And thiotepa.
Thiotepa.
You need not know the details of thiotepa or mitomycin. That is not your syllabus. But BCG, you are not allowed to be pardoned. Right? Now, will you finish everything on BCG? Yes. Next,
So
yes.
It is a live attenuated vaccine of Bacillus calmette, wherein it is
Be a bit loud.
the mechanism of action. It is a T cell mediated immune response occurs
Yes.
after 2 to 4 weeks of TURBT. We instill BCG. It
Can
is
you sync with this, your phone? Then this will work?
yes.
Then do that. That will be good. Yes, proceed.
Then in this we either the dose is either 40 mg or 80 mg. We mostly prefer 80 mg. It is mixed in 50 ml of normal saline,
Yes.
and through the urethral the catheter we instill
Urethral
it in,
catheter.
urethral catheter
Yes.
we instill into the bladder. The contact period should be about 2 hours. We may ask the patient to turn up and rotate. So
One
that
important thing is patient should be not taking lot of oral fluids, preferably stopped oral fluids, so that he doesn't fill his bladder fast, and he should void before catheterization so that the bladder is empty. So if you instill 50 ml and in next 2 hours he makes another 150 ml, so that means he doesn't void fast. That is the point. Then you ask the patient to turn clockwise or anti-clockwise direction so that it touches all surfaces of the bladder. Now, and then you drain it. What is the schedule?
It is given for 6 weeks. A weekly dose is given for 6 weeks, and there are some contraindications for BCG.
You should say one weekly for 6
6
weeks,
weeks.
and then
There is a induction and a continuation.
yes. What is
phase.
continuation?
In continuation, it is 3.
Every week for 3
3
weeks.
weeks.
Each 6 month gap.
3 months.
Between,
3
6
months.
months.
Chalo. Review it. Put it back. You put it back as a homework on BCG. Contraindications.
Allergy to BCG in immunocompromised and
First point you should say immunocompromised
and
patient.
immunosuppressed.
Number 2, actively bleeding tissues. If the patient is having hematuria, to prevent the risk of Mycobacterium sepsis. That is the next point.
And if there is any traumatic catheterization,
Okay.
if patient has incontinence,
Yes.
Immediate post.
Okay.
up to 2 to it should be done not to be done within 2 to 4 weeks of
Sync हो. आवाज बढ़ाओ. Yes. Then
it should be not done within 2 to 4 weeks of TUBRT. Then there are some relative contraindications. If the patient has some liver disease, and if patient performance status is poor, advanced age.
that should be enough for your level. That's good enough. This 2009. Yes. 2009 gives a very good review of MAMC, gives a very nice review of BCG. I would like all of you to again go through 2009 and read it again, right? Okay. Then for muscle invasive, who will tell muscle invasive? You have read up? Yes, be loud. What is the plan for muscle invasive? Yes.
For open surgery should not be done, should never be done, first thing. Then second thing is muscle invasive cases, again options are there. If we want to retain the bladder function and and to prevent the erectile dysfunction in males, that time we can go for radiotherapy, or else neoadjuvant chemotherapy, then surgery, then radio and chemotherapy. These are the choices.
What is the best choice today? If the patient is in best center, the best choice still, the cure rate of surgery is much higher than radiation alone.
Yes, sir.
Radiation is, you should not answer in a muscle invasive like this. You should say first, because you are giving MS general surgery exam, your examiner is a surgeon, he wants to hear the textbook. You should say the best choice of survival is through radical surgery, right? Radical cystectomy followed by diversion. Now this diversion can be done in 3 modalities. We will discuss at the end of the class. The last point is how we discuss the diversions. So the first principle is radical cystectomy. And with or without urethrectomy and reconstruction. This is your answer. If a patient has now you write multiple now you should say, after saying surgery, you say if a patient has got multiple comorbid conditions, unfit for surgery, patient not willing for surgery, then you can't say you die. Then you say, okay, you are fit but you are not willing to undergo surgery. We have a second line. Second line is this. If the tumor is bulky, what I am telling you is not the final answer as a urologist, but you are a general surgery guy. You are at the same day when you are giving the exam for carcinoma urinary bladder, you are also supposed to know carcinoma breast, colorectum, thyroid. You need to know everything. Bladder, what I am telling you will give you 80% marks. So first answer, radical surgery followed by reconstruction. Second, unfit patient, अनविलिंग पेशेंट, ऐसे ही बोलो ना तो एग्जामिनर के भेजे में पड़ती है बात कि लड़के को पता है लड़की को. अनफिट पेशेंट, अनविलिंग पेशेंट, द सेकंड चॉइस इज रेडिकल रेडिएशन with chemotherapy. Bulky tumor may do a anterior neoadjuvant chemotherapy. You understand neoadjuvant before surgery, or anterior radiation before surgery to decrease the bulk and increase the chances of survival, right? Followed by surgery. And if the patient has advanced disease, the answer is palliative radiation and chemotherapy as possible. So as far as you are concerned, nobody is going to ask you so much detail. Now the next step is, what is radical surgery for a fit patient, young patient who can undergo surgery, is willing to undergo surgery. What surgery you are going to offer? Write down. Radical cystectomy and with pelvic lymphadenectomy. There is a question, why incontinence is contraindication of BCG? Because the person cannot retain the medicine. BCG will come out. Okay. So, clear here? Now, as far as you are concerned, you will be only asked what are the structures removed in radical cystectomy. So, anybody can tell me?
Sir, in male,
Loud.
Sir, in male, urinary bladder,
Yes.
prostate, then pelvic lymph node up to the bifurcation of the aorta,
Yes.
and seminal vesicle,
Yes. Lower end of ureters.
lower end of ureter, yes,
Okay.
yes, up to the freshman. And in female, we will remove bladder, then lower end of the upper end of the ureter, urethra, then
Yes.
anterior vaginal wall, uterus, fallopian tube, and bilateral ovary with pelvic
Yes.
lymphadenectomy.
Okay. There is a question by Dr. Rajkishore Bagdi that if a patient has got reactions to BCG after 5 doses, the reaction can be of 2-3 types. If the reaction, what it means is, if the patient is developing evidence of tuberculosis, then you withdraw the drug. And if it is anything else, you give a gap and start again. But that will not be such details in minute will not be asked to a general surgery resident, right? So, yes, doctor mentioned that the medicine may be retained partially. Patient may still leak around the catheter if the catheter is clamped. There was a question that if there is a catheter and clamped, then incontinent patient can retain the contrast, the BCG. It partially may be retained. He is right to some extent, but that is a relative contraindication. That is not an absolute contraindication. It will be less effective. So, as
in radical cystectomy,
Below.
radical cystectomy, fallopian tubes and ovaries are removed, sir, because in Bailey it is given only uterus and anterior vaginal wall.
if it is a young lady who needs ovarian function, you can leave the ovary.
Okay, sir.
Tubes are not important, right? So, ovarian function, besides being the estrogenic function, they also have cardioprotective. They are also protective against lot many malignancies. So that can always be useful.
And if the BCG reaction is of two types, mild to moderate and severe.
Yes.
If it is a severe type, then we can discontinue the therapy.
Otherwise, you treat
Otherwise, if it is mild to moderate, then we can give patient
antitubercular.
isoniazid and
Zinamide.
pyrazinamide.
Yes.
And isoniazid to be continued till the 1 day before the next dose.
Yes.
Then it discontinue and we will give the and if the mild reaction is suspecting, then we will give the next dose in a slightly low dose BCG. Then
Okay. Now, that is all what you need to know about muscle invasive. Now, remember, now reconstruction. These are two separate procedures. Radical cystectomy is an oncological operation in which no compromise should be made. If you are serving a radical surgery, the patient must get benefit. Number two, thank you, Professor Singh. I too remember those days. I'm much milder now. I'm much friendly now than my young age. I think that was a different era. That was under the influence of some tough people on top of me. Anyway, now the reconstruction we should target as a safe surgery which the patient can tolerate and with minimal complications. So we have three types of surgery. One, neobladder formation. When we say neobladder formation, that means patient will be voiding through the normal urinary passages. So the urethra has to be retained, right? So I will take you through a diagrammatic journey and Professor Singh, I would love to have you on the screen for the sake of my residents here in the class. If you can send a request to be on the screen from your phone, I can get you. I can't send you the request from here. It'll be very nice if you can come over and meet the current generation of residents and bless them. So, first point is that how a neobladder can always be formed when there is an intact urethra. Now there is a changing evidence that more and more patients' urethra can be saved. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the concept was urethrectomy nearly lot of people. But with the best of facilities, only 40% patients are fit to undergo. Can you get me a glass of water? 40% patients are fit to undergo a neobladder formation because the patient is not fit. Because neobladder formation has its own thank you. So, neobladder formation. Then the rest of them can have a continent ileal conduit. Right? And the last one is non-continent ileal conduit. So I will quickly take you through the journey. Now, can we have better light here? Any more light? You can. You have a flash? Yes, that will be nice. Okay. Bit distance, beta. From distance. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Now, give me a pen. See, 25 centimeter from ileocecal junction. This is 25 centimeter. I am spoiling the book, doesn't matter. It's for your benefit. Professor Sunil Singh, I'm trying again and again to get you on the screen. Thoda better light. There should be no flash on the screen. 25 cent. Indirectly. Give 25 centimeters of this should be retained. Then 55 centimeter from here. This loop is थोड़ा फ्लैश नहीं होना चाहिए, थोड़ा यहाँ डाल रहा है, थोड़ा दूर से डालो, लाइट बेटा दूर से डालो. हाँ, that's right, that's fine, that's fine, that's good. 55 centimeter is the this length, right? So you bring this end to this end. Why we want to retain the last 25 centimeter is we want to maintain the ileocecal valve and also the last terminal end of the ileum, which leads to responsible for absorption of B12. Okay. Now, in the next diagram, this is the anastomosis between the ileum and ileum. And now you have a vascularized loop of ileum like this. Now this is incised on anti-mesenteric border. Professor Sunil Singh, I'm trying again. Please, there is something on your end. I'm adding, it's not coming on the screen. Okay, this is anti-mesenteric incision. Now you sew up this end to this end, from this to this to make a reservoir, and I show you the next picture. See how this reservoir is being made. First you sutured up two anti-mesenteric borders, and then you are pulling this end to that end. That makes into something like a bladder. Now this sutured देखो आ गया उधर आपके आर वी ऑन
ये तो पुराना है 28 मिनट्स क्लास लगा ना उसी में आगे से
you're getting? Okay. So now this end is brought down. Now here we are going to add the neourethra. See how this has brought down. And this anastomosis is, now the prostate has been shaved off at this level. Right? And this anastomosis is like what you do, bladder to the urethra, as we do in radical prostatectomy. This I have taught you earlier. Right?
Yes.
So, what are the, now, if you know this much, this is more than sufficient as far as you are concerned, neobladder formation, right? So, what are our aims and objectives? Are we on? No. नहीं भाई तो पुराना
यही वाला है थोड़ा स्लो आगे
So, what are the aim and objective of neobladder formation? Number one, the patient should be continent, passing urine per urethra. In good centers, people have been able to achieve 90% of continence during day and 60 to 70% at night. That is considered to be quite good. Second point is anti-reflex. Third point, we need to have the patient urosepsis free. Last point is to save the upper tract. There should be no hydronephrosis or damage to the upper tract. Preservation of normal renal function. Okay? If you can answer this much, this is much more than what is needed out of you guys, right? Now, one more thing. The other thing is you bring the you should know what is a continent ileostomy. Continent ileostomy, have you read of continent ileostomy? Instead of, now I will draw a diagram. Same way as we decided, 25 centimeters from here, this is the ileostomy. You have taken another loop which is going to come out on the skin and implant the both ureters here. Now this is without continence. Continent is you make a nipple out of it. You intercept it in such a way that this becomes a anti-reflex thing, that the patient puts a catheter in this, only then the urine he will drain the urine. This is called intubated ileostomy, or can be a continent ileostomy. This is like inkwell. Old time there used to be ink pot which was like this. So if you put it upside down, the ink will come here, right? So it is something like that. Now something about you should know is a ureterosigmoidostomy. Okay. Some couple of things you should know about ureterosigmoidostomy is that, number one, the commonest complication is hyperchloremic acidosis. Number two, the patient should have a rectal capacity of more than 200 ml, which you need to check beforehand. But this is not an ideal procedure. Yes, the upper tract gets damaged. But this is an easy operation. Putting the ureters into is fairly easy operation. But it has a lot of morbidity, so it is abundant. But some of the old timers might ask you again and again, right? So if you want to, for the sake of, without even cramming up, how to write, suddenly you get a question like, discuss the merits and demerits of neobladder reconstruction after radical cystectomy, right? So now the best choice, I'm quickly revising for you. The best choice is neobladder formation. Second choice is continent ileostomy. Third thing is non-continent ileostomy. Now, I can't see you, Sunil Singh. I think Professor Sunil Singh, after 15 minutes, we will have a formal chit-chat with the residents, with you as an invited faculty across the board on FaceTime. I have tried all my methods. I could not get you on the screen, but I would love you give us 10-15 minutes after the class is over. Please hold on. I will send a FaceTime request to you. I will love you bless my residents. Okay? Thank you. So now what are the complications? You can always create the list of complications intraoperatively, that you can have a devascularized segment, you can have venous edema, you are bringing mesentery based pedicle. If that gets kinked, the ureteric reimplant may not be proper. The blood supply may not be proper. The post-op, the leakage may occur from the pouch which you have made because of poor healing. the anastomosis may leak the enterourethral anastomosis. Are you getting? Enterourethral anastomosis may not heal, right? And then there may be patient will have post-op bowel obstruction because you've done so much intraperitoneal surgery. Patient, you have done retroperitoneal surgery, so the patient may develop lymphocele, reactionary hemorrhage. So you can create complications if you think like that. You don't need to cram up for all major operations, right? You can always write bowel obstruction, intraperitoneal abscess, lymphocele, and in the end stress bleed, pulmonary embolism. List lambi ho jayegi. That will give you credit.
Erectile dysfunction.
Yes, erectile dysfunction. Pardon? Stricture, incontinence. So,
Sir,
yes.
but the most commonly procedure done is ileal conduit, sir. It is given in Bailey. The most commonly done is ileal conduit, non-continence. But incontinence, ileal conduit is the most commonly done procedure, sir.
No, the story is now, if the patient is in high-end center, people who are doing exclusive urologic oncology, the choice today is neo bladder.
It has all the ideal the divergent properties like
Yes. Right? In commonly done is because more people are not trained. We are asking which is the best procedure in best hands, right? And even in best centers, in Sloan Kettering also the textbook says only 40% patients are fit to undergo because it is a major procedure. Added upon a major procedure, first a radical cystectomy, lymphadenectomy, followed by this, right? This is also done, the whole procedure is done laparoscopically also. One of my very close friends who has written chapter in this book, let me show you the pictures. This is one of my closest chum, Dr. Inderbir Gill, right? So he will do all this procedure. See, let's not go into steps of radical cystectomy. See how they do it laparoscopically. They will do a endofire division of the small bowel and mesentery. Look at it, right? So they will take a loop, then an enteric anastomosis, then they are doing a continent ileostomy. See here, this is what is a continent ileostomy. They have put the ureters here, right? Now how they are making this? The same reservoir, same dimensions, and they create a this. Dr. Gill does it. He does it every now and then, maybe 2 times a week, but he also takes 8 to 10 hours, right? So if you are an organ-based surgeon in a big center, this is the choice today. I think that closes our topic. Any more questions? Okay, I will be happy to answer any questions in next 2 days, which can be put up on net for this particular talk. Thank you very much for participating and for friends in encouraging.